It's time for Answers Party Line today for your Wednesday, March the 29th, 2017. Answers Party Line is brought to you this morning by Wimmer Opticians of St. Cloud, Atlas Family Chiropractic of Waite Park, also our fine sponsor. My name is Brad Melke. It is the Party Line program with the Dirt Boys. We've got Dennis Fuchs, administrator with the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Good morning.
SWCD, in other words. Also with us, we have Mr. Rick Berscheid, District Conservationist with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. Rick, how are you?
Very good. And yourself, Brad?
I'm doing fabulous. It's a cloudy day, but you guys make it bright and sunny for me today.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that nice? I always start the morning with a compliment.
Yeah, that's very nice. Thanks, Brad.
And you look good in brown.
Oh.
Dennis.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I like
you look good all the time.
I like that coat thing you've got on.
Oh, that's our SWCD jacket. And
very snazzy.
It is the time of the year to put on a spring jacket. We're going to hit 60 today or not?
Well, you know what? Let me just double check for you. I will see what it says. It says a high today of 54.
Okay.
A little too optimistic, Dennis.
We have a certified crop advisor update meeting coming up here tomorrow, and we got University of Minnesota climatologist Mark Seeley coming in, and we had to redo his schedule a little bit. He has some plumbing problems, so he's got to take care of that before he comes to Paynesville. And I was just asking him, how's the weather looking? And he goes, well, April actually is looking pretty good. The outlook the next 30 days looks like the farmers are going to be busy planting and getting a lot of field work done. So we don't know if that's going to be 100% true, but I trust him as much as the onion lady.
Or Onion Man. I'm not sure who's who now anymore. Might be an onion group. Who knows? We are here to talk a few things, including somebody is what? Leaving or what?
Retiring.
Retiring.
Lori Persson in our office has announced her retirement, and she's having a little open house at our office on Tuesday, April 11th from 3 to 5. And I know there's a lot of folks that have worked with Lori over the past 42 years, all at the Stearns County Soil Water Conservation District. She's been a wonderful asset to the district, and if you'd like to thank her for the great things she's done for our Stearns County resources and the customer service she's provided, stop on over our office on Tuesday, April 11th from 3 to 5. We're just going to have some refreshments and a little cake and just an opportunity for folks to say thank you. And she'll I know a lot of folks do a tree pickup and buy trees from us and have worked with Lori. And also, she's the first person you see in our office when you come in the door. So a lot of folks know her, and I think it'd be great if we had a few folks show up and say thank you and enjoy your retirement.
Congrats.
Yeah,
very nice.
That's very cool.
All right.
And I don't, I know Rick wanted to talk about some stuff too, and I just don't want to get in
you don't
his
want to take
way
too much of his time.
Yeah. And I know that we're going to have a break here pretty soon, but Rick, did you want to say anything? Talk about anything?
Oh, absolutely, Dennis. Sure. Thank you for giving me some time this month. I appreciate it. And by the way, I'm smiling. I was told I got a smile on the radio. It makes me sound better. So I'm smiling.
Who told
today.
you that?
Yeah.
Katie was giving me a hard time in the office. She said, you better be smiling in the radio.
Why don't you tell her to come on the radio with you the next time?
I'll be smiling today. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Bring her along with it. All right.
All right. I just had some updates here on some internships that are available through the NRCS. There's quite a few that are available. There's a few in Minnesota and quite a few in other states. Just wanted to run through them here. There's one for a soil conservationist position, and that would be a position like myself, Aaron, Brian, or Jim in our office. And the position is going to be in Long Prairie, Minnesota. So if you're looking at getting into a conservation career, this would be something you may want to check into. The position is advertised on USA Jobs. So all three of these that I'm going to be covering, you're going to have to go to USA Jobs to find the position and to apply. And the opening date for that was March 23rd, and that closes April 3rd. So if you're interested in applying for a soil conservation position internship, you can go to there and apply. There's 44 other positions across the U.S. that are advertised on the same announcement. There's another one for a soil scientist intern position. There's 6 of them across the U.S., and one of them is going to be in Pipestone, Minnesota. And that has the same dates as far as when it opened and when the announcement closes. So April 3rd, if you're interested in getting into that. And the final one is for an engineering internship, and that one's going to be housed at Marshall, Minnesota. And there's 37 other positions across the U.S. for engineer internship. So I encourage you, anyone listening out there that's looking at getting into a conservation career, go to USA Jobs and look at these announcements and put your hat in and see what happens. In the hat.
You said soil scientist.
Yes.
Are there any around here like that?
Yes.
You're a soil scientist, technically?
I'm a licensed soil scientist.
How
Can I say that?
How come I've never given you that soil scientist credit?
Well, because I'm an administrator now. I don't practice in the soils as much as I should.
Yeah.
I do like getting my hands dirty, but it just, you got to practice more. When I'm going to meetings and talking about policy, you're not really doing the soils work. But Brad Wenz in our office is also a soil scientist, and he's actually was awarded Soil Scientist of the Year in Minnesota here a few years ago. So, yeah, it's an organization. The University of Minnesota used to have a soil science major. It's now a minor, and a lot of even I have a BS degree in agronomy and a master's in soil science. But even agronomy, they like soil fertility, soil biology, soil health. Those types of classes associated with working with farmers are really we like it when we find people that have some soil science.
Okay. Neat. All right.
So, I want to talk a little bit now and Rick can't talk about this. His boss said we're looking at a 20% reduction at the USDA workforce. Rick says, I'll try to do more work with less. But I can tell you that these guys are extremely busy, and our National Association of Conservation Districts, which the Stearns SWCD is a partner with, is doing everything we can to minimize the cuts to USDA. The amount of resource concerns hasn't decreased as we see these intense rainfall events and the needs by some of these farmers that have to correct their feedlot problems to solve feedlot runoff into our streams. There's just an enormous demand on our staff out of the USDA Service Center. And if you feel strongly about some of the assistance you've received from the USDA Service Center, give your congressman a call. Let Colin Peterson know, Amy Klobuchar, Franken, and Emmer that, hey, let's minimize those cuts to USDA. That's a great organization. The farmers helped get President Trump elected, and we don't need to be cutting their technical assistance to protect their natural resources, their soil productivity, the future of farming.
I wish I had some patriotic music in the background.
Right?
You did very well without it. All right.
Well, I want to bring up something else. So, Rick just brought up all these jobs, and you're like, well, why would I want to be looking for a job with NRCS, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, when there's a good opportunity? There isn't going to be any job there. Well, I want to let you know that Land O'Lakes is also involved with conservation and just recently hired Jason Weller, which was the NRCS chief, Rick's immediate boss under the president, or I should say under the Secretary of Ag, which they haven't filled yet either, and they're working on that. But there are going to be other opportunities to the soil water conservation districts, and getting that training through NRCS is just a great foundation for a future in protecting our natural resources. So if you're a student out there or a parent listening to the radio right now because your kids are in school, let them know when they get back that, hey, I heard about this on Chasm, and there's some intern opportunities out there. And if you got any questions, give our office a call, talk to me or Rick, and we'll get that information out to you so that your son or daughter can participate in these internships. So we've got one student coming up here from last year.
Right, Justin. We had him on the radio last year. If you came in the office and you met Justin, he was a really friendly, nice guy to work with. He'll be returning here middle of May through approximately middle of August. So it's great to have him back. And he had so much fun last year learning about our county and the natural resources in our county here that he wanted to come back here, and we're happy to have him back. So you will be seeing him around some more here this summer.
A double internship.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
And I'll tell you what, he was one of the nicest Southern gentlemen I've ever met in my life. Just so gracious for his opportunity to work in Stearns County. And a lot of our interns just love learning about what we do and working with farmers and landowners to protect our resources. And a firsthand experience of going out from visiting with the farmer about the problem that they see, all of the alternatives, and then talking about what type of solutions can we implement on your particular piece of property, and then developing that solution and then implementing that solution through survey, design, and putting the financial package together to help pay for that, and then actually installing it and checking it out, making sure that the contractors follow the plan, which the contractors are great here in Stearns County. I love you guys. And just let her rip. And before you know it, your project's done. You got that under your belt, and it's just a great experience for these kids. And the other thing is they also have an opportunity to see, why are we working with this in this part of the county versus this part of the county? Well, we have a higher demand on our natural resources. Maybe we have higher levels of nitrates or phosphorus moving into the Sauk River chain of lakes, and we want to control that. So we share all the information, all the planning efforts that go into the work that we do, and these kids walk out feeling really good about the experience.
Very good. Tell you what, let's take a break. We'll be back.
Okay.
Gotta take a break.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
What are we going to talk about here after we get back?
Let's talk a little bit about the buffers.
Buffer stuff?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do some of that stuff and more here on Chasm Radio. Answers Party Line will continue in a moment. We have news. We have Minnesota news. We've got some sports. We've got weather coming up, some brownfield market information, and then more from Dennis and Rick as we get back from our break here on Chasm Radio. It's 9:30. Clouds, 39 degrees, news time. Answers Party Line continues here on Chasm Radio for your Wednesday today, visiting with Dennis Fuchs from SWCD, Rick Berscheid, NRCS. If you have any questions for our gentleman this morning, 320-845-2184 or 1-800-950-2148. Let's talk buffers.
Okay, we will. We did have our buffer folks at the Ag Fair at Sauk Center. That we had that big event there on Tuesday, March 14th, and we had over 100 farmers show up, and we're hoping to have that again next year. We got a lot of good feedback. The facility worked out okay. The sound, we're looking at improving that a little bit for next year, and you only got so much space to work with, so we're hoping that someday the conference center in Wade Park, they're getting a couple of those built this year and next year, and there might be an opportunity to have a little better facility down the road for these types of events. We're hoping someday we get 300 to 500 folks showing up and keep it fun, keep it interesting. And one of our first speakers was Tom Guile. He's with the Board of Water and Soil Resources, and he's coordinating the whole buffer effort across Minnesota. And as most of you already heard, Stearns County has 94% compliance already. So there's just a few folks out there that don't have the buffer installed. And for the folks that don't have a buffer installed, we have gone through, looked at aerial photography, and developed a map of the areas that aren't in compliance when the rule comes around. And those areas would need to have some perennial vegetation, which includes alfalfa, planted or working on planting by November of this year. That would be the public waters, so streams, rivers, lakes, wetlands. Ditches have an additional year, and a lot of times the watershed districts like the North Fork of the Crow or the Sauk River Watershed District will be taking control of those and providing additional input. And the buffer on those is requirement of 16.5, a one-rod buffer. So we have approximately 300 to 400 landowners that will be receiving a letter from our office. And if you don't get a letter from our office, that's a pretty good sign that you're in compliance. And with 94% of the landowners in Stearns County in compliance, there's not a lot of folks that are going to have to be doing something, because most of the folks have already implemented their buffer. And the ones that haven't, we're going to be sharing a map with the areas of concern. And we also include a postcard. And on that postcard, you let us know your intention, if you'd like technical assistance, and send that back to us. And we take the appropriate action once we receive that postcard. And we do have some additional items that are getting looked at with the legislators, so nothing's ever solid until it's done. Some of the legislators are looking at extending the timeline for a year, and just want to let the folks know that if you're working with our office, the Soil Water Conservation District, to implement and requiring technical assistance, you do have a year extension already. So if you just want some help, or even if you're looking at an alternative ag practice, which we're still waiting for additional guidance on what those actual practices are and what we're trying to do. One of the alternative ag practices that has been already approved is the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program. And we've talked about that in the past. It provides you protection from any new regulations for 10 years. And also provides you access to some special state and federal funding for technical financial assistance to implement conservation practices. Now, if you're looking at that alternative, we review the contributing area to the buffer, and we can sometimes reduce that buffer from 50 to 30 feet. But that's a 30-foot minimum with the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program. And that holds you at a very high level of protecting our resources, and it's very important that the standards are followed with that program. But it's an opportunity to achieve that buffer reduction from 50 to 30 with the conservation practices being applied on the upland area. That program looks at nutrient management, the types of soils, the type of cover that you have out there, the potential for erosion, integrated pest management, how you manage your pesticides, and if you're an irrigator, looks at how you manage your irrigation water. And all of those components are looked at, and it gives you a score from 0 to 10. In order to be certified with every crop on every field, you have to score 8.5 or higher. And it's not a pushover score. We got a lot of folks from environmental agencies that thought, well, anybody can get certified. No, you need to make some improvements. Even our outstanding conservationists from the past had to implement some modifications to their farming systems, such as cover crops, to get certified. But it is a tool. And the folks that have been getting certified are also receiving a 12-pack of beer for their efforts from 3rd Street Brewery, who also recognize the value of good, clean water. What were you going to say, Rick?
That's the best part about getting certified. I just wonder, does it keep on filling up the 12-pack after it goes empty? Or
no, you have to go to the local liquor store to get the next 12-pack. But they definitely want to send their token of appreciation. And that's actually not only for Stearns County, but for a 12-county area from Benton to Big Stone, Todd Morrison, Meeker, Canyon High, the surrounding area here, Pope, and then all the way out to Big Stone. So take a look at that if you're concerned about that buffer width and you would like to reduce it a little bit. That's one of the alternative ag practices that we have right now. And we're waiting for additional guidance from the Board of Water and Soil Resources on the other alternative ag practices, which could be crop residue management, which would mean not moldboard plowing. Maybe chisel plowing after corn residue or mulch till, and then soybeans using no tillage. Those are the types of things. Cover crops, contour planting, grass waterways, water and sediment basins. These are all alternative ag practices that could be installed to reduce that buffer width. And we'll be working with Bowser to share that information with the folks that are interested as soon as we get it. Some of the other things going on with the buffer, one of the things that we have to have and shared with the county commissioners is the other waters map. The Soil Water Conservation District is supposed to identify other waters that aren't covered with the DNR buffer map, and working with our GIS conservationists, Ben Ruley, Jason Selvog, our soil conservationists, and also Kevin Roth, our Pheasants Forever Farm Bill biologist, we're thinking that there's a couple of areas in Stearns County, like right here around Albany, where the South Two River actually disappears from the map and then reappears. So we're thinking of providing some continuity where we have these gaps on those maps And that's about all we're looking at right now. We just want to make sure we can get those areas already identified on the buffer map, get those taken care of, and then just a few of these other areas, and I think we'll be looking pretty good here in Stearns County. And then once again, the compliance dates for public waters is November of this year. And some folks, that's why we were trying to get these maps of concern out before planting, in case you wanted to not plant corn, soybean in those areas, and you want to put alfalfa or some type of grass or pollinator mix or whatever in those areas. That way you know. And otherwise, if you put the crop in this year and you work on it in the fall, do a more fall dormant seeding, that works too. And then once again, the compliance date for public ditches is November 1 of 2018. And a lot of the watershed districts that the judicial ditch systems are, a lot of landowners already know what's required of them because they're part of the viewer process. All right, so that's about all I have. And if you do have any questions about the buffer program, our office is always open. We're located in Marketplace Mall at the USDA Service Center with NRCS. FSA is right next door, and that's also close to Pizza Ranch, and I think a lot of people know where we're at. Or if you don't want to come to our office and you just want to give us a call, you can give us a call at 320-251-7800. Extension 3, and say you want to talk to one of the buffer people, and one of the buffer guys will help you answer your questions, and if you need a site visit, we'll get you scheduled. We do have a busy workload in the office, but we'll get you scheduled to get out there and provide some technical assistance.
Speaking of assistance, the 5 steps, we're going to talk about that, or did you kind of...
Yeah, you're
Can
right.
we back up first? To the Farmers Fair. So that was March 14th, and that was our first annual Farmers Fair that we had. And I just want to thank all of our producers that came to the meeting. We had over 100 people. That's great turnout for our first annual event. And all of our sponsors and the vendors that were there, and all the staff time that was put in to put on that great Farmers Fair there. And we did a survey with everyone that showed up to see what they thought of it, and we had a lot of great comments come in about what we presented, what the producers talked about, and some items that we can improve upon, and some topics for next year. So like Dennis said, we're hoping to grow this into a larger event, and if you have any suggestions or if you missed it this year, just let us know, and we can make sure that we can get the information to you next year so you can attend. And it was great to have all the vendors there, and we're able to share a lot of information during the break. So just want to thank everybody that participated and attended the event.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to have a event like this where we have a lot of farmers talking to farmers about some of the things they have implemented instead of having me up there. A guy who grew up on a farm but ran into several sheds and then had my dad ask me if I ever thought about going to college after the third building got smacked. Mm-hmm. So I think these farmers got a lot of respect for farmers instead of a guy that's wrecking stuff.
Good.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about the 5 steps to assistance. This is put out by the NRCS, and I think it's good to share this with folks because of the workload in all these offices, we really need to lay out a game plan. And if you wanted to try to get something done this year, it's extremely difficult to line up funding. Sometimes we can get some technical assistance to you sooner, but if you want to access the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, you want to start working on that today for next year. And we do have a 5 steps to assistance. First thing is planning. Visit your local NRCS SWCD field office to discuss your goals and work with staff on a conservation plan. And one of the tools that we're using to get this planning done is the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program, where we look at each crop and each field and the impacts of that farming operation to our resource. And that's just a great way to get some of the planning done. Next is the application. With the help of NRCS, complete an application for financial assistance. That would be either for like the Conservation Security Stewardship Program. Environmental Quality Incentive Program. CRP, we work with our partners over at the Farm Service Agency, and we provide the technical assistance on that. Okay, so that's 1 is planning, 2 is application, and then 3, eligibility. That's how you find out if you're eligible for a variety of programs, and that's usually based on scoring and ranking, looking if you meet the resource concerns from the local work group that has been developed, those priorities by the local work group, which includes all of the SWCD supervisors, NRCS, FSA, county committee, extension, private industry, townships. It's a big group, and they help us identify those priorities and make sure that the practices being applied by USDA are in priority targeted areas. So after you do that, you're eligible, and then there's ranking. And then, so if you're in a drinking water supply management area in Stearns County and you have a resource concern that'll address the drinking water supply, that would rank very high. And so that's number 4, ranking. And then 5 is the fun part, implementing. And that's when you put the conservation practice on the ground. And that's the part that we really enjoy working with the landowners too, more so than the paperwork. We do love the conservation planning. Mark Lefebvre in our office is our certification specialist with the Minnesota Ag Water Quality Certification Program, and he can work you through a lot of that planning. Rick's got several staff that'll help you. I've got other staff that'll help you through that conservation planning. So if you got some concerns, I know some of you in the area got pounded when we had the rain here a few weeks ago, and I've heard of reports of over 2 inches of rain in 15 minutes, and we had just enough soil unfroze that it moved a lot of soil. And there's an opportunity where if we had a little more crop residue and or a cover crop, that would have helped anchor that soil and kept it from moving and impacting our future yields. Rick, he's just chomping at the bit here to say something, and I'm gonna just ask him.
And I'm smiling.
Yeah, he's smiling too. My God, you can feel
happy.
it. Yeah, go ahead, tell us
And number 6, that's not on the list. That is an important part that we tend to skip over is the follow up. So after you get your project installed and implemented, give us a call, follow up with us, and we try to do the same as well and figure out how it's working for you. Is it working? Is there things that we need to improve upon? Just let us know. That feedback is very important for us so that when we help the next producer that we can take into account things that we may need to adjust. So
why don't you talk about your website too, that exchange?
Absolutely,
yeah.
Tie that in, maybe.
Please, my gosh, that's perfect.
So March 1st, the Cropland Grazing Exchange went live. So producers were able to go in, start creating accounts, and putting on their pins. We talked about this a few months ago on the radio. Just to kind of recap a little bit, it's a website to try to bring producers together, crop producers and livestock producers, to try to bring diversity back onto the landscape, meaning just trying to get cattle back out, grazing cropland, grazing some idle pastures or grazing cover crops. And so that went live March 1st. If you just Google MDA Cropland Grazing Exchange, you should be able to find that website. And you don't even have to create an account. You can go right there and view all the points that are set up. To drop a point, to start that's essentially a phone book to link producers together, you need to create an account. But you don't have to create an account just to view the points. And I looked this morning, and there's already close to 20 points out there. So for only being live here less than a month, there's quite a few points showing up. Cropland and livestock producers have been adding points. So if you haven't looked at that recently, I'd encourage you to go to the website and see if there's anything around your area, or if you have anything to add, just create an account. And all you do is after you create an account, you can drop a pin for if you're a livestock producer or a cropland producer and you have some forage available. You just drop a pin and you say what is available, and then the other people can view that, and if they're interested in contacting you, they'll click on it, and then you'll get an email, and then you can start that conversation about, okay, when is it available, and how are we going to put the cattle out there, or if it's sheep or goats or whatever that's available. Is there fence available? Is there water available? And you can start that communication. So It's a great website. There's other states around Wisconsin and Iowa that have seen it, and they really like it, and they're looking at adopting something similar. So if you haven't looked at it, I encourage you to go to the website. And again, that's a MDA website called Cropland Grazing Exchange.
How else are you promoting that other than right here?
We've been promoting it. MDA just did a news release. Actually, I think they have a few more coming out. And we promoted at the Farmers Fair, and it was promoted at the Soil Health Summit, and it was promoted at the Cow Calf Days. It's mainly been word of mouth at events or on the radio or news releases. And all field offices received a copy of the brochure as well. So if you're not from Stearns County and you're working in Meeker or Candy, Ohio, if you just stop in and ask for a brochure, they'll have one available to get you more information on it. So it's just trying to promote it and get it up and running here, and hopefully it takes off.
Okay, very good. Water quality or anything else you want to talk about
Well,
there?
I just want to remind the listeners that Lori's retiring after 42 years with the Soil Water Conservation District. So she must have started working there in high school. But that'll be on Tuesday, April 11th from 3 to 5. We got just a small little open house. Come on over and wish Lori the best as she moves off into retirement. She's been a huge asset to getting things done here in Stearns County. That's quite an achievement.
I was going to ask you, your Upper Mississippi water quality, you want to highlight that a little bit?
Yeah, a report came out by MPCA, and they've done a monitoring and assessment study of the Mississippi River, and it's in actually pretty good shape until downstream of St. Cloud, and then it picks up a little bacteria, and there's a good chance that, coming from the number one dairy county in the state, Stearns County, the Sauk comes in up there, Long Prairie up by Todd. There's a couple of rivers systems that come into the Mississippi that may be providing some bacteria. And we have been aware of that here at the local office. I don't know if the public has been aware of that. So we are definitely prioritizing farmers that are located close to intermittent streams or streams that feed into the Sauk that goes into the Mississippi River, and trying to reduce the amount of feedlot runoff and doing a good job with nutrient management. And then as you move further down, like you get into the Crow River, we got the North Fork of the Crow that is down there toward Belgrade. And then the nutrient concentration of the river doubles. So there's a lot of, ag land in that Crow that runs from basically Hennepin all the way up to Pope County. And there's a lot of good farmland in there. And one of the reasons why it looks good in northern Minnesota is because those are not as productive soils, and they don't have as many nutrients as you do down here in the ag belt, I should say the corn-soybean belt. And we're doing what we can, and that's why farmers, we really like it when you can keep some crop residue on the surface to minimize soil loss, cover crops, some of these conservation practices like grass waterways, water and sediment basins, even contour strip planting. Instead of going up and down the hill, do it on the contour if that's something that's possible. It's amazing how that'll help slow the amount of soil loss. And it's just a study, and this was on Minnesota Public Radio, the Star Tribune, and we're trying to work with MPCA on doing another follow-up study because it sounds like the world's going to hell in a handbasket sometimes when you look at some of this stuff. But we actually are seeing water quality improvements in the Sauk River Channel Lakes because of all the great things farmers have done. And that's what we want to share, and we're trying to get a story like that out. And hopefully we'll have that out later this spring, early summer, to share a positive story with what our farmers are doing to help protect our resources. So thanks a lot, farmers, for doing a great job, and be safe out there this spring.
Remind us how to get a hold of you.
320-251-7800, extension 3.
Right there at your office in?
Waite Park, Minnesota.
Right by the Pizza Ranch, right by all that fun stuff there.
Marketplace Mall.
Marketplace Mall, absolutely.
You betcha. It's right across from Cashwise.
Very good.
Yeah. So that concludes today's radio show.
That is all we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. Dennis Fuchs, Rick Berscheid, thanks for your time today. It's Chasm Radio. It's 10 o'clock. News coming up.